When President Trump's 28-point plan for a settlement to the Russian-Ukrainian war leaked last week, it read very much like the draft had been written in the Kremlin, and that's in part because elements of it had. Administration officials say they actually had the pen after consulting with Russians and then with Ukrainians. When President Zelensky and his top aides first saw elements of this deal, just a few days before it leaked, they knew right away that it would be both a political and diplomatic disaster for them, saying that while they had been consulted on elements of it, they had no idea that the document that would be circulated by the administration would be so heavily in favor of Vladimir Putin. In this 28-point plan, there would be no NATO accession for Ukraine. Not now, not ever. The Western allies would be prohibited from putting their troops inside Ukraine. Russia would gain a good deal of territory that it has now claimed as its own, and even some land that its troops do not now occupy. That's a huge concession to Moscow, one that would essentially reward Putin for invading a neighboring country. No one screamed louder than the Europeans, who feared that Russia would use this opportunity to think about future attacks on the rest of Western Europe. Secretary of State Marco Rubio rushed to Geneva over the weekend to try to save this leaked plan, and after 11 hours of negotiations, ended up removing many of the provisions that were so objectionable to Ukraine and to Europe. A new document has left unresolved, and for future negotiation, the question of whether or not NATO could put troops into Ukraine, and the question of whether or not Russia would gain any land beyond what it has already conquered. It kicked down the road the question of whether Ukraine could ever join NATO, but the very elements of this new agreement may well mark its death when it reaches the desk of Vladimir Putin. Many of these issues, especially those relating to NATO, have been red lines for Putin for a long time. But one thing seems for sure. What President Trump hopes will be a really short negotiation looks to almost everybody else as something that will drag on for some time.